first question I got asked this week was, what is the hardest chord there is to play? And it's a broad topic. Like, it can depend on the size of the guitar you use. It can depend on what size your hands are at that moment. Like, if you're 8, playing a F bar chord is a no-go in most cases. And then it can depend on, like, I've a baby Taylor, and I play so much on that I wouldn't dare try on a full-size guitar. And also, it can depend on the chord voicing itself. So as an example, if I play an F, that might be full on going for me if I was younger and starting out. And if I go like this, it's still an F, but now it's a lot more manageable. So just watch out that you could go around saying, well, F is the trickiest chord there is to play. But what F is it? Is it the big one? Or is it this one? There are options. So even if there is one that seems tricky and seems really difficult, you can change the voicing in it. Can you use your thumb with chords? 100%, totally. There are times as you go along that you'll have the freedom to choose when you want to do it, as opposed to when you're told to do it. So like certain chords I play, if I'm playing a gig, I might be playing a lot of bar chords going first, going around. Then later on in the gig I might go. Just freedom of choice. The first time I found out about this though, I was learning the D chord with an F sharp bass. And I saw the chord diagram and I thought, well, it looks kind of weird. I was running through the fingers wondering, how can I arrange them so that the chord will come out? And I tried crazy stuff like this, which does work, but getting from your C's to stuff like that, it's a fair amount of moving. So then it hit me about using the thumb. So your most common chord that you could start using this on is a D with an F sharp bass. Okay, now other chords, you can use them in bar chords, and again it can release the tension around the hand so that the same points in the hand aren't getting tension the whole time through bar chord shapes or through some open chord shapes. And that is using the thumb in a nutshell. So that chord again, it was a D chord, and you get your thumb up to the 2nd fret of the E string and you hit that along with it. So that'll be a very good one to start with. Other examples could be you do your F. So if you did your F this way, okay, and then you can put your thumb on the top. That's another one. Then you can start combining them. Like, a thing I like about using my thumb is that when I use it, it gives me freedom to try different notes over chords. So if I was doing my A minor, I could put my thumb with it here at the top and do F major 7. Also, I could do a D with the G bass. Now, you're going to notice at the start when you begin these that your D is on, and next thing, you're trying to get the thumb up and up and up. And a lot of people think that you need to use this much of your thumb, but you really don't. You just need one point of contact to get it on. So check this out. If I'm playing my D this way, this is the point that I pressed down with my thumb, just around there, and it was only that part of the string. So watch out that, especially if you're getting this knuckle joint way over, it's going to affect the rest of your chord. You'll see here that my D chord can't press on correctly because so much of the hand is committed up here. And also, note the position of my palm now. The palm has completely touched the back of the neck, whereas the other way, D chord was here, thumb was there. And there is space there. See, I can fit my hand between my palm and the neck. And that is chords using your thumb. Okay, another question I was asked was all about fingerstyle pick. More specifically, it was about, well, is it okay not to use the pick sometimes? And 100%. Now, When people begin guitar, the first thing I usually see is they'll want to use their thumb. And then they hear about this thing called the pick. And next thing you have the few technical things you need to look out for when you do use the pick. The day will come though, where I might say to a student, well, this song we're going to use a fingerstyle technique because that's what the artist is using. 3 of my favourite artists that use fingerstyle technique would be Jeff Beck, Andy McKee, and Mark Knopfler definitely would be up there too. All very different fingerstyle techniques, but all very valid to look at and learn from. So I'm going to just play something now, and what I'm going to do is you're going to hear a big tonal difference between my G chord with just using my thumb and using a pick. You can hear there's more volume, there's a crisper sound, there's more clarity in the notes. And it's not that either is right or wrong, it's just sometimes you'll want one, sometimes you'll want the other. A big thing about fingerstyle, the first time I learned it, I was learning Sultans of Swing. And so I had to get into Mark Knopfler's technique. But also, as well as learning fingerstyle for that, having the technique then in my sort of toolkit of techniques, it came in really handy the odd time I might not have a pick and I'd want to play something. So like I'd be able to go, you can get by, it's a lot better than just strumming with the thumb if you have to. It's quite interesting because he keeps his third finger and his pinky rested on the guitar, and then he uses his second, his index, and his thumb to play the rest. Like if I did the Into Sultans of Swing. Okay, now, not 100%, but you get the idea. So, he'd use that a lot. Now, Jeff Beck, on the other hand, he'd use a few more of his fingers, and Andy McKee then would be a lot more percussive. So like if I went like this, if I was doing something like... So overall my advice would be to do a bit of both. Now when you begin, definitely start to get into using the pick, because you're going to need it more times than you'd need fingerstyle if you're playing common pop songs and rock songs. And as I say to students, I'd always say, well, check out the people who busk on the street. They all use picks, and they all use really heavy picks to be heard if they're not using amplification. One of the last questions of the week then came from a young guy, and it's very interesting the questions some of the younger kids can ask about playing guitar. We're doing an A chord, and he said to me, do you know this A chord we're doing? And I was like, yeah. He said, it works on my guitar, but will this work on electric? He was playing a little nylon guitar. And I looked at him and I was like, 100%. But it's very interesting how some of the younger kids can think about guitar and about the chords they're learning. And the point I extended from it was all about how it's interesting how your A chord can sound a certain way when you play it on a little nylon guitar, and then you play the exact same A chord. It could be the same player, it could be the same finger formation, same strength of the hit in the strum, but yet if you're going through an electric and a big enough amp with the right settings, it can sound like the beginning of an AC/DC song. So that was a little point to ponder about your open chords. How even though you do learn them on a nylon string or on an acoustic, once you move to electric, then all of a sudden they take on a whole new meaning. And that was one of the last questions of the week. But guys, if anyone has any questions, even if you don't come to me for lessons, you can drop me an email. It's in the comments below. Okay, and I'll post another video. It'll go out next weekend. Keep them coming. Thanks for watching.